Boom! It's your boy Jimmy. Oh, whoa, no, 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 no. Straight from y'all, street to Wall Street. Anybody tells you that money is the root of all evil doesn't have any. Whoa, no. Dude, wake up, get that girl hyped up just to get a little bit. The only woman in the morning wanna turn on his Becky quick, while the average man's looking at curves like she fine as heck. I'm over here looking at tails and wicks like buy or sell. I left the chaos for the market. Nah, I don't want a street spot, I want a stock pick. I know the style got flair, trigger my stop losses, but I ain't got time for distractions. My Vivo with PFs crossing, rich with high trades from pushing high keys, strategies and plans to make grand. Still in my tank top, Batman pajamas, house slides in about 5 hot picks of the day, cause I like the way the dial moves. For hot dips on call, so I got options. 2 with a lot of volume, 1 with a double bottom. Now I know some folks don't understand. Am I talking about my trade or just thinking with my Mac day? You see we're different in the way we move. You move with kittens and your dogs, I move with bears and bulls. I got a green thumb, I grow at the market. Waking up with the future, stacking up some commas. I jump out of bed, make profit, eat my bacon and eggs, make profit, light up watching them candles, make profit, while I'm still in my sandals, making profit. They used to watch me move dance, roll style. Now I watch moves in the NASDAQ. Used to run from the ATL and the car. Now I run down ETF and make profit. I jump out of bed, make profit, eat my bacon and eggs, make profit. While watching them candles, while I'm still in my sandals, making profit. See me and Jim Cramer been talking mad money. He said today I'm taking the risk, they got the feds coming, but I got support here with me. I call the short squeeze. You get the drop, she pulls the trigger and shuts it down. If she stays on my watch list, I might have to keep her, but I know better. I'm a true trading group lifer. Go ahead, be bold. Trader, get your squad head. I'll double top that guy, head and shoulders. Hit him up with this resistance. Watch him roll over, cause I see big moves in contracts. If I say I made 1 million a day, well, that's a large cap. You moving average, just why you get calls, get split, get delisted and knocked off. And I'm setting the whole block off. I'm buying GameStop and selling them roadblocks off. Jump out of bed, make profit, eat my bacon and eggs, make profit, light up watching them candles, make profit, while I'm still in my sandals. They used to watch me move them packs, bro, stop it. Now I watch moves in the NASDAQ, profits. Used to run from the ATL and the cops. Now I run down ETFs, make profit. Hey, my plug that we don't trend, make profit. Right on what we do, man, make profit. Hey, Friday, Suge, Mike. What we doing, dog? Make profit.
Make profit.
That TTG money, gang. We making profit. We some snipers. It's your boy Jimmy. Oh, whoa, no, 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 no. Straight from y'all, street to Wall Street. Anybody tells you that money is the root of all evil doesn't have any. Whoa, no. Dude, wake up, get that girl hyped up just to get a little bit. The only woman in the morning wanna turn on his back and quick. While the average man's looking at curves like she fine as heck. I'm over here looking at tails and wicks like buy or sell. I left the chaos for the market. Nah, I don't want a street spot, I want a stock pick. I know the style got flair, trigger my stop losses, but I ain't got time for distractions. My Vivo with PFs crossing. Rich with high trades, I'm pushing high keys. Strategies and plans to make grand. Still in my tank top, Batman pajamas, house slides in about 5. Hot picks of the day, cause I like the way the dial moves. For hot dips on call, so I got options. Two with a lot of volume, one with a double bottom. Now I know some folks don't understand. Am I talking about my trade or just thinking with my Mac day? You see we're different in the way we move. You move with kittens and your dogs, I move with bears and bulls. I got a green thumb, I grow at the market. Waking up with the future, stacking up some commas. I jump out of bed, make profit, eat my bacon and eggs, make profit, light up watching them candles, make profit, while I'm still in my sandals, making profit. They used to watch me move dance, roll style. Now I watch moves in the NASDAQ. Used to run from the ATL and the car. Now I run down ETF and make profit. I jump out of bed, make profit, eat my bacon and eggs, make profit, while watching them candles, while I'm still in my sandals, making profit. See me and Jim Cramer been talking mad money. He said today I'm taking the risk, they got the feds coming, but I got support here with me. I call the short squeeze. You get the drop, she pulls the trigger and shuts it down. If she stays on my watch list, I might have to keep her, but I know better. I'm a true trading group lifer. Go ahead, be bold. Trader, get your squad head. I'll double top that guy, head and shoulders.
Hey, yo. What's up, everybody? What's going on, folks? Welcome to a True Trading Group live stream. Yeah, you guys love the beat. I know. I really do love it. I really do love it, Green Thumb. Every time I hear it, I can't help myself. Get all excited about it. Welcome to a True Trading Group live stream. Sorry, I'm a little bit late coming on here. I couldn't get myself into the stream. So what's up? We've got a lot to go over. We've got a lot to talk about. Today is the busiest earnings day of the season. And what we've got cooking right now is Amazon out, and Amazon is trading up significantly here. As we're looking at up now 5% on the day. We were red earlier, so it's up even more than that in the after hours. And we've got a bunch of earnings on Coinbase. You got MicroStrategy, you have Roku, you've got Reddit. Apple is due out here in just a little while. So let's kind of get right to it. We did see a pullback in the markets today. That's exactly what we discussed yesterday. If you guys were on my live stream here yesterday, we were live while we had Microsoft, Meta, and Alphabet's earnings. And I told you guys yesterday that I was really getting myself ready for expecting a pullback in the markets. It's exactly what we got today. A nice little pullback, a nice little profit taking, little breather of this market rally that we've seen. The watch list was dominated to the short side today. Watch list today was short on the overall markets. It was short Oracle. It was short Ethereum. It was short MicroStrategy. So the watch list today with inside of True Trading Group within the community was just an absolute banger. We had a ton of people sign up last night for a trial that came in. They were hanging out with us inside of chat, and it was just a wonderful day as we kind of sniffed out that pullback in the markets. If you were on the live stream yesterday, then you heard us obviously talk about looking for the pullback. So hopefully, even if you're not a member of True Trading Group, you were able to maybe take some of that analysis and make some money with it today. Hopefully, if not, you should second guess or you should think twice, maybe, or think harder about becoming a member of True Trading Group if you were not able to make money from the analysis that we gave you yesterday, because it was a wonderful day inside of chat today. We hit on puts on Boeing, obviously ETHU. We had a wonderful day. I'll just tell you guys now, if you did not join that trial, do so now. Go to ttgtrial.com. It is free. There's no credit card required. There's no automatic upgrade to an annual membership if you forget to cancel. It's just my gift to you. Come try out TTG for 7 full days, 7 trading days, not 7 calendar days. Saturday and Sunday. Do not count against your 7 days. You get 7 days with us. Go to ttgtrial.com and sign up now to join us for 7 days and see what TTG is all about. Join 10,000 members from 114 different countries. Join 8 professional traders sharing their screen with you live, answering questions, calling out their trades, and giving you commentary and analysis all day, every day, from pre-market and all the way through until the close. So do so now, guys. ttgtrial.com. Everything that you see on that page is included in your trial, including Mari, our award-winning Benzinga FinTech Award recipient for Best AI Analysis Tool, our TTG AI Trading Assistant, Mari, where you guys can ask questions, analyze charts. Everything is going to be right there for you on ttgtrial.com. Chat room, you get our educational content. Everything's going to be there that you guys see on that page. It's all included in your trial. Again, it's totally free. You don't need a credit card, nothing like that. All right? So come check it out, see what the fam is all about. Let's hit on these earnings. All right, Amazon is out, and we got to hit on it, man. We got to hit on it. $1.97 versus $1.57 earnings per share. Revenue comes in at $180.2 billion. That is against expectations of $177.8 billion. AWS comes in at $33 billion versus $32.4 billion expected. Operating margin is actually a miss. 9.7%, expected 11.1%. But the Q4 outlook, what? Q4 outlook for revenue. Now, this is always a big number for Amazon because of the holidays, right? They always get a massive surge because of Q4 is the biggest quarter for them usually, right? Always. But listen to this revenue number for Q4. $206 to $213 billion with operating income between 21 and 26 billion dollars for Amazon. That's unbelievable. Okay, that is absolutely unbelievable numbers there for Amazon. And that's got the stock, like I said, obviously I told you guys, popping to the upside. This is the biggest earnings that we have kicking off right now, but there are others. There's Netflix also just announced a stock split. Coinbase earnings are out, so we're just going to run through. We're going to get to all of these. Amazon trying to hold this new all-time high. Right, you have resistance here at 243. That's your prior all-time high. You had a pivot resistance level at 239, and you can see we're trying to break through that level here now. So Amazon has lagged behind some of these other Mag 7s And yeah, those layoffs. Oh man, think about that. Think about how you must feel. Amazon just announced the other day that they were laying off 30,000 positions from their corporate positions, not from the factories and everything else, but Amazon corporate laying off 30,000 people. And that's just days before you announce just a phenomenal earnings report. That's a little awkward that you have this phenomenal earnings report, yet you go ahead and you announce a layoff of 30,000 people. But that's a good earnings report. I don't know if it's going to be enough to take this, to take Amazon through that all-time high. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tight because I do think that the markets are going to be in a little bit of a cool-off mode going into November. I do think we might get a little pullback in the month of November, and then I think we can rally as we get into the end of the year. So we'll see if Amazon tomorrow is able to gap above that prior all-time high. If it is, we will look for support down around that 240 for potential longs going into tomorrow. All right. Now with that, let's just keep on going. Let's go to, after Amazon, let's go to Netflix. All right. Netflix announcing a 10-for-1 stock split effective on November 17th. So that is some news out there on Netflix. I'm actually still going to be looking at this play. I talked to you guys about Netflix yesterday. If we can't get back above this 200-day moving average, even on the back of this news, you can't get back above that 200-day moving average. You got to watch for this trade line. That's 9 EMA to kind of cross over and maybe push this thing back to the downside and get down into this support level, which is around 1060. 1060 is a nice support level, especially if we cannot reclaim that 200-day moving average. We're going to watch that one there pretty closely. Okay. What time does Apple report? Glad you asked. 4:30. Let's talk about the others. Coinbase. That's another one that everyone follows a lot here. Kind of a muted reaction to Coinbase's earnings. Not that much of a move. I mean, we are trading higher, but the stock was down significantly on the day. Earnings are fantastic. Earnings per share, $1.44 versus $1.11. Sales come in at $1.87 billion. Analysts were only expecting 1.79 to 1.78 as those numbers come in better than expected. Their Q4 outlook, they expect services revenue, 710 to 790 million from subscriptions and services. Transaction expenses, mid-teens as a percentage of revenue. Tax, sales, and marketing. Okay. Yeah. So nothing crazy there on the outlook for Q4, but that's are strong earnings there coming through for Coinbase. I mean, you kind of also almost expect it a little bit because you think about what's happened. You think about what's happened with Bitcoin, right? And you think about what happened with that wild liquidation day that you had when Bitcoin went from 120,000 down to 104,000. In just a single 24-hour candle, which is the biggest $20,000 candle, is the biggest candle that you've ever seen on a daily on Bitcoin. And you just, with highs, Ethereum rallied over the last couple of months. So you just kind of knew that there was going to be a lot of action on Coinbase. And I think it makes sense that you get a good earnings report there from Coinbase because of the volatility that we saw around Bitcoin and around Ethereum over the last couple of months during the quarter. So I think that makes a whole lot of sense. Right? I think that makes a whole lot of sense. All right, that is Coinbase. I didn't realize I didn't even give you the analysis on the stock yet. So chart wise on Coinbase, we're just kind of caught what looks like just inside of this huge wedge. See this big wedge that's forming here. I drew this a couple of days ago when somebody else asked me on the live stream about my thoughts on Coinbase. You can see we just kind of keep bouncing inside this range. And I got to be completely honest with you. I don't see a trade in here. I really don't. I don't see a trade in here. I think that this is such choppy price action. When Coinbase has directional momentum, there's no mistaking that direction. There's no mistaking that momentum. So I think we did a nice job of holding that support level down there around 320, but I don't feel overly confident in the long. I don't feel overly confident in the short. Sometimes the best trade is no trade. And I think there's better things to trade right now rather than trying to pick apart Coinbase in the middle of what seems to be a very choppy consolidation period. I'd rather wait to see if this wedge pattern can kind of continue to build out over the next month or so and then play a break out of one of the trend lines of the wedge. I would think that would be a better trade setup rather than trying to kind of diddle in the middle here around this 340 and have these major moving averages in here. I just don't think that there's going to be, I just don't see there necessarily being a day trade there on it. And it's not something that I most likely will have on my watch list going into, most likely will not have on my watch list going into tomorrow. We've got Cloudflare. All right, Cloudflare. This is one of the stocks we've got in the long-term portfolio that is having a tough time breaking through those all-time highs, and it looks like earnings are not going to be enough to do it. I'll give you guys the numbers here with Cloudflare. This is another stock we do have in the long-term portfolio, one of our software basket, and here are the numbers. Earnings per share, it's a top and bottom line beat, 27 cents, analysts expecting 23 cents, 562 million in sales, only expecting 545 million. They see Q4 earnings per share at 27 cents, analysts expecting 25. And we see sales of 588.5 to 589.5 million when analysts were only expecting 580.5. They raised their full year earnings per share guidance to 91 cents. Analysts were expecting 86 cents. And they raised their sales guidance to 2.14 to 2.143. I don't know why they even gave that range. They gave a range of 2.142 to 2.143 billion. I feel like that's too close of a number that you don't need to give a range. but they did, and analysts were only expecting 2.117. So that is a phenomenal earnings report from Cloudflare. It's a top and bottom line beat. It's a guidance raise for the quarter, and it's a guidance raise for the remainder, for the full year number. And the stock is still not able to clear out that resistance at 230. So you have this 230 resistance level. That is your all-time high. You can see the number came out, you popped, and then it was just met with profit taking. And that kind of, I mean, listen, that's where I think the markets are at right now. I think the markets are at a stage where we had a massive run, obviously off the April lows. And then we got what looks like these big gap ups over the last couple of days from Friday and then into Monday, Tuesday. These were some really big gap ups on positive news headlines. And I just feel like we ran a little too far, too fast. And I just feel like the markets need to pull back, cool off, and take a little bit of a breather. We also got to the very top end of this upward sloping channel that I drew out for you guys on yesterday's live stream. So if you were with me yesterday, that's why you guys don't miss these lives, guys. Make sure you turn on your notifications on the stream, subscribe, obviously. You don't want to miss out on these lives. We got to the top end of that level yesterday, and I was telling you guys that I think it's more likely that we pull back a little bit off of that rather than, bust it up through it. And that's exactly what you got here today. Now we'll have to wait and see, what does tomorrow bring us, as I still do believe that it's more likely that we're going to see this area before we see the brand new all-time high. So I still am looking at that, the potential pullback. We had Apple earnings coming out in 7 minutes. That is also going to be able to kind of set the tone, for a lot. Okay. Then we've got MicroStrategy earnings are also out. This is a stock that's been getting pulverized, and it is just a horrific miss on earnings per share, but they did beat on sales. I think people forget that MicroStrategy is still actually a business other than just an entity that just buys Bitcoin. They still are a software company. I'm not sure if people even realize that. But earnings per share, $8.42 against expectations of $10.57. And sales come in at 128.7 million versus 118 million was expected. Is this a typo? They're affirming 2025 GAAP EPS guidance of $80 a share when analysts were only expecting $41 a share. I don't even know if I feel like that might even be a typo. That sounds pretty wild. Nonetheless, stock is moving back to the upside. The stock got pulverized today. It was down like 7 or 8% today before the earnings. Now it's down 5%. So you're getting a little bit of a bounce back here on MicroStrategy, but MicroStrategy got gutted today going into this earnings report. And now you're getting this little bit of a bounce back now into the low 260s. As far as MicroStrategy, I still think that this stock eventually works its way back down to this March and April low. this double bottom that we had back here from March and April. We had a little support level here in the mid to high 270s, and you broke underneath that today. And I feel like it's more likely that we're just going to kind of continue to fade here, just continue to fade here a little bit. I know the stock is bouncing now on the back of its earnings report, but I think it's more likely that you do that than it is the stock does this. So we also got to keep an eye on Bitcoin. Bitcoin, failed to have that 120, 125K break, and you've gotten a pullback on Bitcoin since then. So if you continue to get a pullback here on Bitcoin, which I think you're going to, I think crypto is going to give you a little bit more of a pullback from here. I'm not necessarily expecting like a major crash, but I do think there's going to be a little bit more of a pullback. If you look at this is the IBIT, this is not the exact price of Bitcoin, but you had this double top there. You tried to break out of it, and then you failed, right? You tried to break out of it, and then you failed. And now after the failure, you bounce back, and then you put in a lower high, and then you roll back to the downside. I just think it's more likely that you're going to see some price action that looks like that rather than looks like that. And if that is the case, if that does happen with Bitcoin, then I do expect MicroStrategy to work its way back down towards those prior March and April lows. All right. So as you guys can see from what I said yesterday, basically from what I said yesterday, that I still am thinking about, potentially getting a little bit more of a pullback on these things. Okay. We've got also earnings are out on RKT. Real muted reaction here in RKT. We are getting some pickup in the housing market. You've had now, I think it's the fourth consecutive week that we've had mortgage rates decline. I think mortgage rates now are just under 6.2, 6.17 or so. And that just gave us a pretty good new home sales number. And we'll go through that. It should, let me take a look here at Rocket. 7 cents versus 5 cents. That's a beat. And sales 1.78 billion versus 1.67 billion. They see fourth quarter sales of 2.1 to 2.3 billion. Analysts were only expecting 2.05. So it looks like they're expecting a little bit of a turnaround there on RKT. All right, guys, we've got a couple of minutes here before we get Apple. We also have Twilio earnings are out. Let's touch on Twilio as that stock gives you a nice pop. $1.25 versus $1.08. Sales come in at 1.3 when 1.3 billion. When analysts were expecting 1.25. Their fourth quarter earnings per share guidance is $1.17 to $1.22, and it's expecting $1.14. And they see sales of 1.31 to 1.32 billion, analysts expecting 1.285. So really strong earnings report there on Twilio, top and bottom line beat, and a raise on guidance. This is a nice breakout. You had resistance here at 115. Okay. You had resistance at 115. Now you have resistance at 120. And this gap fill, with the gap fill is actually 122 for the gap fill. All right. And then you have major structure up in the low 130s. Okay. Now what you'll see here is you see this double top we had at 115, gapping above it. And you filled this gap. So the last time they reported earnings were negative, and you got this huge gap down. We filled that prior earnings gap. That is going to be resistance. If Twilio can get past 122, your next resistance is going to be up there in the low 130s, which is this resistance that we see here. All right. So you guys see that? So 122 resistance level there now for Twilio. All right, guys, 1 minute here until we get Apple earnings. It's the big one. It's the big one that we are waiting for. All right, guys, here we go. And we are moving lower. The markets are not going to be able to hold up. The markets are not going to be able to hold up. If Apple disappoints and Apple trades to the downside, I don't think the markets will be able to hold up. I don't think the markets will be able to hold with Microsoft, Meta, and Apple, with all of them moving to the downside. I don't think that we will be able to hold that together. That's also kind of why, again, like I keep saying, I'm leaning towards that downward move in the overall markets. All right, earnings per share, $1.85 versus $1.77. Revenue comes in at 102.5 billion. Analysts were expecting 102.2 billion. These are small beats, but they are beats. The iPhone revenue is a miss. The services revenue is a beat. And I think here's also a big reason why the stock's moving lower is China revenue is a big miss. 14.5 billion. The expectation was 16.5. And I think that that's probably the reason why you're seeing this move to the downside. So services revenues beat 28.75 billion versus 28.17 billion, but iPhone sales come in light. Huh. Guidance is fantastic, though. Guidance is fantastic. They're talking about iPhone revenue growth in the double digits and total revenue growth between 10 and 12%. He's expecting the best December sales ever. That might, listen, that might turn the stock around. You might try to get a bounce on that. That's pretty aggressive. You haven't seen double-digit revenue growth on Apple for a little while. So you might try to get a bounce on that. We take a look here. It says currently we're supply constrained on several models of the iPhone 17. So that's why. Looks like that's where you're getting that from. Saying that the big update with Siri is still something to watch next year. Gross margins come in better than expected, 47.2 versus 46.4. They have $132 billion in cash. What the hell? $132 billion in cash Apple has. So here, look at this bounce, guys. So see how you're trying to bounce now? That's what I was telling you. Once I saw that guidance number, I feel like the stock might try to bounce. I don't know if it's going to be enough to take us back to the all-time high of 274. But you are seeing that little bit. We went all the way down to 262, right, on the actual earnings release, and then we popped it back to 270 once that guidance came through. So we'll have to see what Tim Cook has to say about that. I assume Tim Cook is going to. I assume that Tim Cook is going to really talk up that guidance, because they haven't had that double-digit revenue growth. They fell into the single-digit revenue growth numbers for a little while. So I feel like he might try to really push on expecting like the best December that they've ever had, and that might get the stock bouncing, but. They're talking about literally on CNBC. They just said right now that with that guidance after the conference call, the guy on TV from Wedbush, he actually just said, he goes, this stock's going to be green. They had negative sales, negative 0.3 year over year on the watch, on the Apple Watch. Mike, can all these earnings bring the SPY back to the upside? Yeah, it certainly. Yeah, it could. I mean, listen, if Apple pops to 280 and Tim Cook says something about AI with Siri and talks about expecting the best December that they've ever had, and talks about that guidance of 10 to 12% revenue growth, that could pop the markets back higher and get back into some of the resistance levels of like 687, 686 is the resistance that we have on the SPY. I'll take you over to the SPY right now. And the levels that I have here are, well, let me delete this line. I don't want to confuse anybody. We'll delete this line right here. That's one level. And then there's your second. All right, so here are your two areas of resistance that we have here for the SPY. And yeah, it is possible. It is possible that these earnings could pop the markets back to the upside tomorrow and get ourselves back into some of these resistance levels. We'll have to see what happens with the conference call. All right. So then we have the conference call later. We'll see if there's anything that really gets things moving or gets things going after that. But those are kind of the biggest earnings of the day. I think we kind of hit on them all, or at least the ones that we focus on the most, that we trade the most: Coinbase, MicroStrategy, Apple, Amazon. Speaking of Amazon, let's go back and do a quick check-in on Amazon. Oh, yeah. Back up towards highs. This is exactly what the market needed. The market needed strong earnings from Amazon and from Apple in order to continue to move to the upside. And you are getting it. You are getting it. So look at this. Look at this extension here on Amazon. So now Amazon is clearing that previous all-time high. So remember, as soon as that number came out, I said to you guys that we're right up here into this resistance level. And I said, I don't know if this is going to be enough to take you through that all-time high, but you have now finally cleared it. All right. You have finally cleared it. We got to wait and see. Do we close up here now in the after-hour session so that tomorrow you then look for that area to try to be support on pullback? It's a similar type of play to what happened here with Alphabet. Alphabet had broken that all-time high previously to its earnings report. Amazon is breaking that all-time high with the earnings report. So similar, but a little bit different, where with the catalyst giving you the move back up above and through that all-time high. So really strong move there. And then there's Apple back to green. You see the difference, right? So that's why I said, you heard me say it right here. Once that guidance came out, I said you might see a bounce now on Apple with that guidance. And then now there you go. Apple now back into the green. You're back up now 273 and a half. That all-time high was actually put in today at 274. So you're just shy of that all-time high now on Apple. And again, I do expect Tim Cook to really hype up the fourth quarter. All right, those are pretty aggressive guidance numbers. You have seen pretty muted guidance numbers from Apple over the last year, 2 years. You haven't had that double-digit revenue growth. So for Apple to come out and give you 10 to 12% revenue growth guidance, that's a big number. And then Tim Cook went as far as to say he thinks this could be their biggest, that this can be their biggest December ever. So those are some pretty big numbers that are being thrown around there. And we'll see if we do clear out that all-time high on the conference call. But there's your bounce. And when you guys are when you're trying to trade earnings, the guidance matters a lot more than the actual earnings report themselves, because the actual earnings report itself is what has previously taken place. The guidance is what is yet to take place. So the stock is going to move more on a guidance number than it is. You can have a situation where a company misses on their earnings report, but gives you very aggressive guidance going forward, and the stock will still move higher. To the flip side, you can get a company comes out and has amazing earnings, but they lower their guidance going forward, and that stock can trade to the downside. So the guidance is going to be more important than the actual earnings report. That's why as soon as the earnings came out, you saw the numbers with Apple, the stock dropped. As soon as we saw the guidance, we're like, that might bounce the stock. And now here's your bounce back into the low 270s. Look at this. We're going to do it right now. We're going to do it right now. We're going to do it right now. 274 and a quarter, 274.30. There's your all-time high. There it is. That's a new, fresh, all-time high for Apple. There it goes. Man, talk about that guidance. Wow. Wow, 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 wow. So when you take a look at the Mag 7, you're 3 and 2, right? So we're 3 for 5. You're 3 for 5 on the Mag 7 so far. Alphabet, Amazon, Apple, upside. Microsoft, Meta, downside, with Meta being the worst of the bunch. So we are green, and we actually just printed a new all-time high. There you go, guys. There you have it. Hell of a move. Hell of a move and hell of a guidance there from Apple. Whew, man, help us all if Tim Cook gives you an AI surprise on that conference call. If Tim Cook gives you an AI surprise, right? An AI surprise. See if Microsoft is doing anything on the back of this. No, not really. AMD, NVDA, no. Yeah, so it's just kind of a focus there. Coinbase doing anything? Back to the downside. MicroStrategy, quiet. Twilio holding gains. Sure is. Beautiful. Oh, Reddit. Let's check on Reddit. Choppy. Nothing really to go through there with Reddit. Roku to the downside. Let's touch on that. I didn't cover Roku earnings. That's one of the we do like to look at. Roku is a top and bottom line beat. 16 cents versus 9 cents, and sales come in at 1.21 billion versus 1.206 billion was expected. They see next quarter sales of 1.35 billion, analysts expecting 1.325. They see full year platform revenue at 4.11. You know what? I'm surprised Roku's down 5.5%. They actually just reported positive operating income for the first time since 2021. You haven't had positive operating income on Roku literally since COVID, 2021. And they just reported positive operating income. I mean, the stock's a dog. Nowhere near where you were back during 2021, but you can see what's happened to the stock. And the last time the stock was up here was the last time they reported a positive operating income. So probably, not something I'm going to trade tomorrow. Not something I'm going to trade tomorrow, but something that we do watch. So we'll pay attention there. So to recap for tomorrow, we're going to be watching Amazon on the gap up to the new all-time high. Just make sure we hold that gap up, and then we look for the pullback into 240s to be possible support. And then with Apple, we wait to see if there's an extension here on Apple once the conference call hits, which I do think at this point there probably will be. If the stock is already extending to a new all-time high ahead of the conference call, I do expect that to maybe continue, because I do expect Tim Cook to be pretty aggressive on that guidance and really hype that guidance up back to double-digit revenue growth. And we'll see if there's any bit of an AI surprise. But right now, Apple and Amazon saved the markets from today. We were down around 1% or so, and now the markets are only down 0.5%. There was a nice rotation today. You did have the Dow. The Dow was green for the majority of the day, while the NASDAQ and the S&P were getting hit. Led obviously to the downside by all, your bigger tech names like Microsoft and Meta after their earnings, and now Apple and Amazon coming to save the day and kind of pulling this market back to the upside. You literally can feel, if you look at the SPY and you look at Apple, you can literally feel Apple pulling 499 stocks with it. You literally can feel, you look at the SPY and you look at Apple, you feel literally just 499 stocks just got placed on the back of Apple. And Apple's just like, hold my beer, I got you, don't worry about it. And it's just pulling us back to the upside. So you take a look at the SPY, I'll show it to you. You can see, look at this move that we're getting here on the SPY. So this first candle, that was Amazon's earnings. This was Amazon's earnings. Okay. This is Apple's earnings. Now I want you to notice that once Apple reported earnings, right? Look at the initial move to the downside on the SPY. Look at that tail, right? So not only did you get the sell-off in Apple once the earnings came out, You got to sell off in the whole overall market right back down to the close and wiped out the balance Amazon gave you. And then everyone got the guidance on Apple. I think getting that guidance on Apple also makes people feel that the consumer is in better shape than maybe some people were necessarily kind of concerned about, especially after you saw what happened to Chipotle. Chipotle's guidance was terrible. Chipotle made direct reference to the 25 to 35 age group really slowing down spending, and really gave kind of a gloom outlook for the consumer. That's why Chipotle was down like 17%, I think, at the lows. And then Apple comes out and says, well, actually, the consumer is no issue. We expect a record-breaking December, and we're going back to 10 to 12% double-digit revenue growth, and that's got the whole market moving back to the upside. So that's what I think is really taking place. I think it's all about the guidance, and it's all about, the consumer maybe that being more of a Chipotle kind of an issue rather than consumers aren't willing to spend $1,000 for an iPhone. And I think that's what you're getting right now. This is a huge move on Apple. Wow. Apple now 282. The all-time high was 274. You are just blowing through that previous all-time high now on Apple. Apple's like, okay, NVIDIA, you hit $5 trillion market cap. I'll see you in a bit. As Apple now has begun its climb to reach the $5 trillion market cap company. And then Microsoft was the number 2 largest market cap. Apple was 3. Apple's like, nope, we're not going to stand for that. We're taking back over the number 2 spot. A 5% pop on a $4 trillion company will certainly help after Microsoft got cut down a little bit today by around 2.5%. So Microsoft down, Apple up. That's going to get Apple up there to try to get back up and take over that second spot as far as the second biggest market cap. Still a ways behind NVIDIA's 5 trillion, but Apple just pumping right now, guys, to the upside. And that's taken the SPY almost back up to the highs of the day. You're back to 684 on the SPY. Remember, resistance is going to be up at 686, a level that we'll be watching very closely as we go into tomorrow. Remember what I said to you about MicroStrategy? I said, MicroStrategy was popping to the upside. And I said, even though we're moving to the upside, I still think MicroStrategy sells back down. And here you go right now, MicroStrategy selling back down. A nice little $11 pullback on MicroStrategy, as I do expect that stock to continue to be weak. Even though they just reported after their earnings, I do expect the mid 270s. I do expect that to continue to be resistance, and look for MicroStrategy to continue to fade. Amazon new high also. So that's guys. Honestly, you couldn't have asked for a better result here. You really couldn't have. You couldn't have asked for a better result from Apple and Amazon. Getting the job done, kind of saving the markets here a little bit from what could have been a deeper pullback. All right. So there you guys have it. Just beautiful. Beautiful. All right. Anybody have any questions on any of the earnings that we just got? Anybody have any questions about Amazon or Apple or anything like that? If you guys have any questions, go ahead and just fire them away right in chat right now. If you have any questions on any of the stocks that just came out with earnings. Don't be shy. That's why we're here. Tomorrow's the last day of the month. Is there any portfolio shenanigans that happen on last days of the month? Well, more likely shenanigans, Astro motivation is the end of the quarter. End of the quarter, you get end of the quarter rebalancing. Typically happen, doesn't necessarily happen at the end of every month. Something that you'll see more typically at the end of every quarter. And tomorrow is not the end of a quarter. So I don't expect there to be any Halloween shenanigans. That's a good question too, Brian. That's a good question too. I'm curious to see what the Amazon CEO, what Jassy has to say about the 30,000 layoffs. That's a tough look, man. You come out and you're like, yeah, we're going to lay off 30,000 people. And then you come out with some gangbuster earnings and the stock pops to new all-time highs. It's just kind of a little awkward, right? Just kind of feels that's a little awkward. So you think SPY will continue uptrend, no pullback? No, I still think that we're going to get a pullback. I still think that in the month of November that we see a little bit of a pullback. I'm not talking about, I'm not talking about a crash, right? But I just think it's more likely that we're going to get back into here, right? Get back into here, get back into this uptrend line. And that uptrend line will also coincide with the previous all-time high. I just think it's more likely we get into here before we get up here. You know, eventually I think that we're going to get up and test 7,000 on the S&P, which we've got like 100 points or so to go. So, you know, I do think we're going to get to 7,000, but I just think we're going to pull back first and kind of retest some of these support levels before eventually making that move. It's just that right now, like today, the market sold off today. We closed at the dead low of the day. Looked like that pullback was really kind of underway. And then Apple and Amazon pop, bring the markets back to the upside. So maybe not quite ready to give you that pullback, but it's still something I do expect to see over the course of the next couple of weeks. I'm not necessarily saying tomorrow we have to sell off, but over the course of the next couple of weeks, I will look for that price action. Thoughts on price adjustment at market open tomorrow? I don't like relying on extended hours or pre-market numbers. Historically speaking, it's always dumped down. Amazon? I don't know what you mean by historically it's always dumped down. I mean, Amazon has not historically dumped down. I just don't know. I guess I just don't know. You mean like from the after hours into the pre-market, the stock usually pulls back? Is that what you mean? I mean, I wouldn't say that historically from 9 to 9:30. I mean, I wouldn't say that that's something that has historically happened. I mean, it depends on the period of time that you might be talking about. But any thoughts on price adjustments tomorrow morning? I mean, I think it's probably more likely that you get price action similar to what you saw today in Alphabet. So if you saw Alphabet today, Alphabet had this massive gap up to new all-time highs, and then it faded off the open, and then it tried to bounce from there. I think you probably see something similar to that on Amazon. I think Amazon will give you this big gap up to new all-time highs, and then off the open, you maybe get a little bit of a pullback, back down into retest some levels, and then maybe try to bounce from there. That's kind of the price action I'm going to expect from the stock tomorrow. But like you said, we got to wait and see where we open. A lot could happen between 4:53 p.m. and 9:30 a.m. But I would not expect a complete reversal in the stock unless they said something totally outrageous on the conference call. If they say something outrageous on the conference call, that could reverse the stock. You know, maybe that's different, but I can't predict what they're going to say on the conference call. Just on pure price action alone, I'm going to look for this gap up to stick and look for it to hold going into tomorrow morning. And then off the open, maybe we get a quick pullback and we get a quick pullback and we get a little bit of a profit take fade, kind of like what you saw in Alphabet, but then bounce from there, right? Like if I'll take you back to Alphabet, just going to show you maybe the price action that I'm kind of talking about. So you have this huge gap up, right? I'll go to intraday 3-minute charts so you guys can see it, right? So here on Alphabet, so the light gray batteries included, the light gray, that's pre-market, and then dark gray, the black is where the market's open. So you see how you have that huge gap up, and then right off the open, see the fade, like profit take, and then profit take right off the bell, and then you got a little bit of a bounce. So I kind of think you can get something similar to this tomorrow for Amazon. So like give you that big gap up, and then maybe that big gap up just brings in a little profit taking, and then you get a quick early pullback, and then bang, and then maybe a bounce off that prior all-time high. So if we went back to Amazon, that previous all-time high is 242. So I think if we were to go back, you know, I could see a gap up to here, and then off the open, pull it in. And then try to find support back against those highs, and then maybe you'll try to bounce from there. But I think that's maybe something that we can see. Okay? Right? So those are my thoughts with regards to Amazon. So bad as you could. I hope that helps, brother. If that's kind of what you were referring to a little bit. But that's kind of what I'm thinking about there on Amazon. And Apple's a big. I don't think Apple's going to turn around. The market sold off today. Does that mean the meeting between Trump and Xi was that great? The meeting with Trump and Xi went really well. We got some good positive headlines from it, but it did not include anything about the semiconductors. So the positives that we got were the announcement from China and from Trump that it went well. So there's that. Xi is going to be coming to the United States for another meeting. Trump is going to be going back to China in April for another meeting. China agreed to continue buying soybeans again. They're going to be buying like 12 million something. I forgot. I saw the number. It's an astronomical number that I couldn't even process in my mind. The soybeans that they're going to be buying. So they committed to buy soybeans again. And they also agreed to remove their rare earth export controls. So they are going to be providing the United States with the rare earth minerals. That was the point of contention a couple of weeks ago when they sent out that letter that they were going to be restricting the export of rare earths. And then that was when Trump came out and said, I'm going to put 100% tariffs on China. If you guys remember that, that was on October 9th. I'll take you back to the chart. That was this day. So remember this day? That was, Trump said 100% tariffs. So that's gone. Right. So Trump said no 100% tariffs. And then Trump also lowered the tariff rate on China. So that additional tariff on China from the fentanyl, he lowered that tariff rate. So now you have a lower effective rate on China's tariffs than you had. You got China's giving the United States the rare earths. They got rid of the port fees. So the United States and China had port fees on ships from the nations that would port and dock at their ports. There were fees on those. They removed those. And honestly, most importantly, the two leaders both said it went well. So that's a good sign. It kind of feels like that the anxiety that everybody had 3 weeks ago about US and China trade, deal kind of falling apart. That's now gone. Now it kind of comes to what's going to be the next phase of this. And this is where it's similar to what happened in 2018. In 2018, there was, if you were following the markets back then, there was a phase 1 trade agreement. And then there was going to be phase 2, and there was going to be multiple phases of it. But then obviously that did not continue. So now as those negotiations have now begun again, it kind of feels like this is the first phase, and they agreed on a bunch of these different topics, but then the next phase is going to involve semiconductors and a bunch of other topics too. So I don't think that it's necessarily that it wasn't a good, the only way that I felt, and I said this to you guys in the live stream yesterday, if during the meeting, there was an announcement positive for NVIDIA, if there was something from this meeting that allowed NVIDIA to sell their chips into China, then that would have most likely saw a big pop in NVIDIA, because there are zero revenue numbers factored into NVIDIA's guidance and their valuation right now. So if all of a sudden NVIDIA is able to sell to China, that's going to add billions of more dollars in revenue. That'll pop the stock. If you got that news, then I thought maybe the markets would give you one more push, but either way, we were going to look to fade that move as a buy the rumor, sell the news type of event. There were so many news catalysts and so many headlines over the last couple of days that the markets priced in a lot of really good information. Okay. Friday and Monday, the markets on Friday, you got the CPI data. It was lighter than expected. Markets gapped up. Over the weekend, you got the news about China and the United States, and China was China committed to buying 2 cargo ship loads of soybeans prior to the meeting, which was kind of them extending an olive branch. So you knew that was a really good sign. And everybody thought that because of that move, everyone just assumed the meeting was going to go well. And you got this huge gap up on Monday. So positive news, a positive result from this meeting really got priced in on Monday. And then you had all the earnings. I'm sorry, not the earnings. On Wednesday, then you had NVIDIA's DTC event. And NVIDIA announced news after news after news after news, and that took NVIDIA over the $5 trillion market cap number. They announced a deal with the U.S. Department of Energy. They announced a deal with the U.S. government for 7 supercomputers. They announced a $1 billion investment into Nokia. They announced a deal with Palantir, a deal with Samsung, a deal with Hyundai, a deal with Uber. They announced that they expect $500 billion of revenue over the next 6 quarters. All of that came out on Wednesday. All of that. And that took the markets to these new highs. And that took NVIDIA to new highs. But now, then you got earnings yesterday from Microsoft, Meta, and Alphabet. And Alphabet's the only one that did well and traded higher. Microsoft's earnings were still great. I just think Microsoft was just a matter of that this big gap up that you had on Tuesday when they had the news with OpenAI, that move took away the likelihood of a continuation move higher after earnings, because that was such a huge gap up, and you gapped up where? Right to the all-time high. So it was such a huge gap up that you're like, okay, you gapped up on the OpenAI news. Now the earnings kind of become a sell the news type of event, and it's a profit-taking opportunity. That's exactly what happened. Microsoft's earnings were fine. I know the stock's down 2.5% today. Their earnings were good. I just think that's a little bit of just a profit-taking after the earnings have come out. And one analyst said it perfectly, and I agree totally, that Microsoft's earnings was like an A-plus student got an A, where it's like, okay, you didn't get an A+, but you got an A. Still really good, but not perfect. And that's kind of what, that's kind of how I feel like Microsoft's earnings were. Microsoft's earnings were still good. So I don't think that the pullback today was really necessarily a function of like, okay, the Trump-Xi meeting didn't go well. I just think it's more of a function of all of these catalysts are behind us now. And as you look forward, it's tough to see what the next catalyst is to give you another leg higher. We're not going to be getting any economic data. We're not getting jobs data. We're not getting CPI inflation data. We're not getting a lot of the economic data. We're not getting a lot of this stuff because the government is still shut down. So now that your mega cap earnings are behind us, you don't get NVIDIA earnings for quite a while. The Trump-Xi meeting is behind us. The CPI data we got on Friday was a one-off because you had to they had to announce the adjustment for Social Security payouts. So that's behind us. All of these things are behind us now. So what's the next catalyst to take you further from there? That's why I think it's just a matter of the markets ran too far too fast. We priced in a lot of really good news. Now maybe just a little bit of a pullback, right? Just a little bit of a pullback from that. Is the IRS shut down? Do I still have to pay my taxes? Yes, you still have to pay your taxes. And unfortunately, yes, Adam, you still have to pay your taxes. What are your thoughts on US dollar JPY? Looks like another carry trade unwind. I know. I saw your comment earlier. I saw your comment earlier, and so here's my thoughts on this. Okay. When we had the first Japanese yen carry trade blow up and unwind in August of last year, I was a very aggressive buyer of that. I don't think that there is a big systemic problem there. I think a lot of that trade got unwound in 2024. I don't think that the second time around that it's going to be an even larger unwind than it was previously. I think that initial unwind saw the size of that trade come undone just a bit, that I don't think it's something that's going to cause this massive issue. I could be wrong. I'm not sitting here trying to say like, no way, can't happen. I'm not that, I'm not arrogant like that. I definitely, you could see something like that happen because Japan is a mess. They really are. Japan is a mess. And if there is an issue in the bond market that's going to arise that could be triggered from a currency event, it probably does come from Japan. France is a mess. Japan is a mess. So if there is an issue, it does probably come from Japan, but I just don't think it's going to be bigger than it was in 2024. And when that sell-off happened in 2024, members of True Trading Group I don't want you to just believe, I don't know if you're a member or not, but I don't want you to just take my word for it because it was in the past. But members of TTG, I came on, I actually wasn't supposed to be working. My daughter was just born a couple of days ago. It was my first day home from the hospital. And that Sunday was when the Japanese yen carry trade kind of unwound. And I stepped in Monday morning and I came to the chat and I told everybody like, hey, I'm going to be buying this pullback. I'm going to be buying that pullback. And we bought it very aggressively. And it was the right move because that was the market's bottom that day. And the market just snapped right back to all-time highs. And now, you look where we are today. If something like that were to happen again, I'd probably do the same thing. So, like I said, I'm not sure if you're a member or not, but let me actually see how many. Let me see actually who is on this live stream that's not a member. Can you guys do me a favor? Just type the letters TTG if you're not a member. If you guys are not a member of True Trading Group, can you do me a favor real quick and just type the letters TTG? And do me a favor, actually participate, type for me. If enough people type TTG, maybe I'd do something special for you guys. But just go ahead and type TTG if you're not a member. Again, just go ahead and type TTG if you're not a member. If enough people type TTG, maybe I'll do something special for you guys. We got Aditya, we've got Rico, we've got Plasma, Sean, what's up? Guys, go ahead and type the letters TTG, please. Let me know who here is not part of the fam. Shiva, how are you? Sean, what's up? JB is in the house. Latufo. Nice. Larry. Cool. Excellent. Well, guys, listen. Those of you that are not members of True Trading Group, first I want to show you something, and then I'm going to give you something. I'm not going to offer you something. I'm going to give you something. Okay? I'm literally going to give you something for free. But before I give you something for free, I want to show you something. We have about 10,000 members in True Trading Group from about 114 different countries. So we really are a global community here at True Trading Group. We have working partnerships and relationships with Benzinga, Unusual Whales, OpenAI, the NASDAQ, DataBento, and TradingView. And the reason why you have all these companies that have working relationships with us is because they recognize and they see, and we also received the Benzinga FinTech Award for Best AI Analysis Tool last year, and we're actually a finalist for 3 awards this year. And the reason why you're seeing all of those things is because members of True Trading Group are actually becoming profitable and they're having success by being part of the community. And before I give you something for free, I just want to show you something. Members of True Trading Group that are on this live stream, if you guys are making money with this platform, I want you to type the number 1 in chat right now. All right. Again, if you are making money and you are becoming better traders because of TTG, I want you guys to go ahead and type the number 1 in chat right now. Anyone that's not part of the community, before I give you something for free, I want you to pay attention to how many people you see type the number 1 inside of chat. All these people that you are seeing type the number 1 in chat were once you guys on a live stream deciding whether or not TTG was for them. And I'm not going to sell you a membership right now. I'm going to give you something for free. But I want you to see how many people that you're seeing that are telling you that they're making money and they're becoming better traders because of this community, because of this platform. True Trading Group is not just courses and trade alerts. It is a fintech platform that gives you access to tools and resources that are going to help you guys make better trading decisions. Okay, this is a fintech platform. We like to think of ourselves as the Bloomberg terminal for retail traders. It's not just trade alerts and courses with a chat room. We are far much more than that. Okay, it's otherwise all these companies wouldn't have partnered with us to allow us to build out this platform with their tools, their data, their resources, and everything else. Okay, so you just saw that. Now, what I'm going to say to you now, okay, is those of you that are not members, I want you to come and experience what this platform is like. I want you to use the tools. I want you to become part of the community. I want you to join the chat. I want you to get the trade alerts. I want you to use all the resources available to you. Okay. And I want you to come join us for free for 7 days. You're going to get 7 trading days. Okay. 7 trading days. Okay. Saturday and Sunday don't count. Go to ttgtrial.com. There's no credit card needed. It's not like if you forget to cancel your trial, then you get charged for a membership. If you don't do anything, your trial just expires and you're not charged anything. If you want to stay with us, you got to manually process a transaction to say you want to become an annual member. If you do nothing, it just cancels and you lose access to the platform after your 7th day. So I want you guys now to go to ttgtrial.com and sign up totally for free. And then go and also you get access to TTG Social. When you join our trial, you're going to get access to TTG Social permanently. You might say, what is TTG Social? True Trading Group has its own social media platform that is private for True Trading Group. Okay. Everyone on there is a verified member of TTG. You're able to communicate with members, see what the community is talking about, see what the community sentiment is on a particular setup, ask questions, share charts, and everything else. Okay, share strategies, indicators, whatever it is that you want to discuss. It's all the best parts about social media with none of the garbage. There's no politics on there. There's no spamming. There's no bots. There's no scams. None of that crap. It's just members of True Trading Group that are fully focused on making money with each other. So when you become a trial, you get access to this platform indefinitely. And then you get 7 days of access, 7 trading days of access to the actual platform that is True Trading Group. And you guys can come into chat. You can use the AI, right? That's Mari. That's the trading assistant. You guys can use all of these things for 7 trading days. It's totally free. So that's my offer to you guys. Okay. Look at that. Kuda383 says, absolutely, without a doubt, TTG is the reason I am profitable and more consistent. Blessed on Mess goes, no BS, just education and making money. Laura Lee says, guys, there's no risk, all reward, take the trial. Frank says it's the best investment you can make in yourself. So you're seeing a couple of comments there from some members of TTG. Those of you that are not members, that's my gift to you. It's totally free. You can come check us out for 7 days. All right. Again, that's ttgtrial.com. If anybody has any questions about anything at all, I want you to send us a text message to 1-888-621-2127. Again, that is 1-888-621-2127. Again, 1-888-627. Does anybody have any questions for me at all? Augustin Perales says TTG. Go to ttgtrial.com, guys. Join us totally for free. Anybody have any questions? Hands down, a great education, the path to becoming a much better trader, says David. Awesome. Yeah, let's do a quick check-in. Wow, Amazon. 253. Wow. Let's check on Apple. Apple, 284. My goodness. Huge. Just huge. Amazon is up 10% on the day. It's up 13.5% after hours. Wow. Wow. Up 13.5%. I would love another meetup. Any plans for that? Yes, Jimmy, we do plan on another meetup after I have my second kid. My wife is pregnant, due in a few months. So after that, we'll work on something. What's going to happen to QQQ tomorrow? Well, I mean, listen, with the way that Apple and Amazon are ripping, you're probably going to get the NASDAQ is going to try to give you a little bit of a bounce back tomorrow. I would assume that we're going to try to bounce. I mean, with Apple and Amazon, I assume we're going to try to bounce. I'm still reeling from what you and Adam showed us. What is new on the platform? That was amazing. Yeah. The AI technology that we have on the platform, it truly is. I mean, it truly is something of dreams. I mean, honestly, it really is. So basically what we, and I'll just briefly kind of explain to you, we've added a skill to Mari. Mari is the AI, the trading co-pilot for you guys. That there's a lot of people that feel like they don't know what to ask AI, right? They're like, they don't know what to ask. And some people are intimidated by it and they feel like they're not getting the most out of it. We now have gotten to a point where we've built the AI and it's matured enough and we've trained it enough and it's advanced enough where we've added the new skill where you don't need to know what to ask it anymore. The AI based on its knowledge of you. So when you guys, our AI is completely customized to the individual user. So you'll talk to it, you'll go through your trades and everything else and your questions, and it'll learn your trading style, it'll learn your risk tolerance, your account size if you want to share that, your strengths, your weaknesses, through like your trading and your journaling and everything else. And it will then begin to give you actionable input and guidance based on your own characteristics and your own situation. So if I ask it a question, hey, give me a trade setup, and then you ask it, it's not going to give me an option contract because it knows I trade equities, right? And it also knows my account size, knows my risk tolerance. So you might ask it the question and it's going to suggest for you an option contract because it knows you trade options. And it might give you a different trade entirely because it knows that your risk tolerance is maybe only $100 and you want to be able to control your risk better. So you want something that's a little bit lower volatility. So it's not going to give us the same response because we're two different people with two different strengths and weaknesses and everything else. So you'll share all that information with it and it'll know what you're asking. And you can just say like, hey, is Meta a good buy right now? That's it. Just ask it that. And it'll go through thousands and thousands and thousands of data points. It'll factor in dark pool data, options flow, support, resistance, technical indicators, volume, social sentiment, news, broader market sentiment, previous events, upcoming events and catalysts. It'll factor all of that information together to give you a very detailed answer and breakdown as far as whether or not Meta is a good buy right now, with also conviction. So from a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being little conviction, 10 being maximum conviction, or you can do percentages of like 65% conviction, 70% conviction, and it will give you that rundown of whether it's a good buy or not. And then we'll give you an exact plan of an entry here, a stop loss here, take profits here. It'll give you all of that very detailed analysis just from you asking one very simple question that's a couple words long. So it really is kind of a game changer. You don't need to know any complex prompts with our AI. It's all natural language. You just talk to it. And members were just kind of blown away by that new function and by that new feature that we've released for everybody. And then also, if you have level 3 data, we have a partnership with the NASDAQ where we can actually provide our members with level 3 data, which is something usually reserved only for brokerage firms and hedge funds. But our members will have access to it, those that pay the additional fee for the level 3. All that level 3 data also gets factored into the AI's analysis to give you just the best analysis that you're ever going to see. I mean, honestly, it really, truly is. It's an amazing tool. It's no surprise that we're up for 3. We're a finalist for 3 more FinTech awards this year. All right. So guys, again, ttgtrial.com. Again, that is ttgtrial.com. It is totally free. You guys can come hang out with us for 7 full trading days and trade with the group. Any questions, text us 1-888-621-2127. You guys can text that number. You'll talk to a real person. Any questions that you guys have, the phone number is at the bottom of the screen. Otherwise, you go to ttgtrial.com. Everything you see on that page is included. All right. There we have it. So that's it, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed the live. We've got some really great earnings from Apple and Amazon. I mean, honestly, just as good as they could possibly be, really. When you think about Apple and Amazon, you really can't get anything better than that, right? Can't really get anything better than that. Tomorrow, we're going to go live at 3 p.m. All right, I'm going to go live 3 p.m. tomorrow, so set your reminders, and we will go through Power Hour, the last hour of the day. right? So if you guys want to maybe, check out, we can trade live together. That'll be tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern. I'm going to go live right here on this YouTube channel, and we'll finish out the last hour of the trading week together here on the YouTube stream. All right. So I'll see you guys all tomorrow. Set your reminders. Again, if you're not a member, come check it out. Come trade with me and the rest of the traders live. Come join the group. It's totally free. tctrial.com. I'll see you guys all tomorrow. Have a great night, folks. Subscribe to the channel. Smash that like button, of course. See you guys later.